Hello, Flight Sim Adventure fans. Just going to do a quick Huey startup for a few new members of one of the groups I'm part of. Pretty simple as DCS goes. The Huey is one of the great ones. First things first, you're going to need the battery on. Then down here, shut that annoying warning off for the low RPM. Obviously, the helicopter's not started yet. From there, back up to the top. ESS bus on the VM and power to AC phase, main generator on. From there, we'll need to roll manually the throttle over the ident for the idle cutoff. Now that it's over the ident, I can actually use the throttle knob that I have bound to my HOTAS to control the throttle. That is one of the things that always gets a lot of new Huey pilots is the getting that over that manually. From there, turn on hydraulics, force trim, double check to make sure that's the anti-chip's in the center. From there, we can go ahead and start the aircraft with fuel on. And then also ignition on the collective, which you'll have to bind to a button. Now, as the aircraft is starting, you hold down that ignition until you get 40% on your gas producer, after which point it will just continue to start on its own. And the light goes off. There we go. So while that's going to get nice and noisy, we'll go ahead and close the doors. Let that stabilize a bit. While that's doing that, we're going to go back up to the top. Generator on main. Start generator to standby. Radar altimeter on, which is way in the back there if you don't know where that's at. Once you get to that point, we can turn on the electronics. I like to go ahead and roll the radar altimeter on. Otherwise, you forget the thing sometimes. And if you are on SRS or whatever you want to use for communications, make sure you turn your radios on to transmit and receive, and then to whatever frequency that you want to use. That has to be on for SRS to work. And then also you can change your radios in SRS with the knob down here for your radio selection. Another thing that a lot of folks tend to forget is the compass alignment. As you can see, our main compass is pointing north, which we are not facing north. We're facing 300 degrees west. So we're going to go ahead and line that up with our magnetic compass on the right side of the dash there. Could tell you how many times I forgot to do that. Get lost. Alright, now that everything is stabilized, we can go ahead and start rolling our throttle up using the throttle axis that we've bound. And you'll start to see the RPM start to climb. And that should climb all the way into the green and stabilize. Once it does that, the RPM will go off. No more lights on the caution light, so we can go ahead and reset the caution. Hey, you're ready to fly. It's as simple as DCS goes. I mean, there's a few other things if you're doing weapons, flares if you have them. But that's it. Aircraft's running. From there, I'll put my pilot in because I like to see the pilot. You're ready to fly. Obviously, you want to check your surroundings and go from there. But one thing that you'll also want to make sure you bind is your pilot trimmer, which is pretty handy if you're flying on a lot of these tabletop joysticks that have really heavy springs, which I've put my heavy spring on to kind of simulate that for this floor-mounted modification. but it allows you to lock in center where you want the center to actually be. So as you can see on the indicator there, now my stick centers in the hover position. Now I've also, by habit, I've automatically put my my pedals into the takeoff position to the left a little bit on the Huey, which on the Huey is cyclic back and left pedal, where if you're flying the hind, it's the complete opposite. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and add some collective here to get us off the ground. And with helicopters, you're always flying it. There's no such thing as hands off if you're doing it right. We'll take it up to a 10-foot hover here. It's been a while since I've flown the Huey. And I'm also not used to this heavier spring, which is not ideal for helicopter flying, but it does work if you get things trimmed up. See, there's hands off when I'm trimmed, so it's not a lot of work to keep it centered. At this point, you can check your power, which is that gauge right there on the bottom. Make sure everything is staying in the green once you're airborne. So we're here on a training map that I've made for the DCS Huey community. There's a lot you can do on this map, and it is available on our Discord. One of the things that I like to bring new pilots to is our Huey training area, which has a couple hover circles, so you can practice different orientations to the hover marker in the center of the circle. Just so you can practice, keeping an eye on where you're at on the ground in relation to the helicopter. Pretty handy for sling loading, which there's also a training area for that on here as well. We may do a video on that later on. I'm not the best at sling loading, but we'll give it a shot anyway. Or I may try to get some guest pilots in on our server and maybe have them show off their sling loading skills. And anybody can set this up on their own mission. Just something to practice on. That's one of the things. Everybody wants to go fly balls to the wall and dodge bullets and trees, but nobody ever focuses on the basics, which I think is a shame. And really, if you do it and do it a lot, it will make you a better pilot in the long run. So there you have it. I'll keep this video fairly short, under 10 minutes. Hopefully that helps some of our new group pilots, and we'll see you on the flight line. Have a good day.